Back on the SportsMax Zone, we are still talking cricket and cricket on the field now, resuming day 3 on 136 for 3. Touring Sri Lanka ended a rain-affected day on 250 for 8, trailing by a further 104 runs with 2 wickets left in the bag. And world number 1 ranked all-rounder Jason Holder has so far picked up 2 for 39 from 21 overs, while Alzarri Joseph, who has struggled so far in the series, has picked up 2 wickets for 64 runs. Patham Nissanka on 49 and left-arm spinner Lasith Imbuldeniya on naught are the not-out batsmen. Joining us now to talk about what has happened in Antigua today, regional cricket commentator, international cricket commentator as well, Fazeer Mohammed. Faz, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. Great to have you on as usual. How much, first of all, do you think the rain stoppages affected or impacted on the momentum of play today?
I think it did quite a bit. Only 42 overs were bowled, and you might argue, well, it favoured the Sri Lankans because they were able to limp to the close of play at 250. But on both sides, and I think any batsman worth his salt will tell you that when the innings is constantly interrupted, it's difficult to sometimes restart. So there's certainly a challenge there. They'll obviously try to make up the time, assuming there are no more showers over the next couple of days. But I think the most heartening aspect of the day was to see Shannon Gabriel firing up on all cylinders in the morning session, because he was really out of sorts in the first test match. And just to see the way that he unsettled the likes of Dinesh Chandimal and Dhananjaya De Silva really made a difference of the West Indies' impact on such a shortened day.
Yeah, I was going to go there, Faz, because there were some who questioned his inclusion for the second test because he had looked so dodgy in the first test. But I think the reasoning behind that was his superior pace and the sort of extreme pace that he would offer to the West Indies bowling attack. And to follow up on what you're saying, or to expand on it more, Faz, that was in evidence today, wasn't it?
It was. And just remember the impact he had on Sri Lanka when they were last year in 2018. He roughed them up really seriously on the second evening in Queen's Park Oval. He got 13 wickets in the test match in St. Lucia, which ended in a rain-affected draw. So clearly, he is the type of bowler who, when all cylinders are firing, is going to be a handful for any batsman anywhere in the world. And I think the Sri Lankans would have been wary of that. And no doubt the West Indies would have said that, look, Shannon Gabriel might have had a poor first match, but if it's one thing you can say about him is that he always tries. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes it can be pretty ordinary and expensive, but I don't think you could ever say with any degree of seriousness that Shannon Gabriel is not a wholehearted trier. And when it all clicks for him, as it did this morning, it is really a delight to watch. Yeah, unless you're facing him, of course.
Yeah, Faz, and I think, so often that selectors and coaches and captains get so heavily criticized because things don't go well. It's often neglected to, on the other side of the coin, put your finger up to say, a good decision was made there. I'm a part of a cricket chat group that, because it's instantaneous, things are happening and people respond immediately. There are a lot of times people say things early in the morning and 2 or 3 hours after they have to take it back.
That's why I'm not part of a chat group. That's why I'm not on social media, because I prefer to step back and look at the bigger picture. And in the same way that you should be telling all of these big wigs, whether they be in Cricket West Indies or JFF or TTFA or whatever, what to do with themselves when they try to tell you how to do your jobs. In the same way, I'm sure the selectors, Roger Harper and company, I remember on the same same Mason and Guest show that you alluded to in your previous segment, I had a real go at Roger Harper about wanting to give false promises ahead of the tour of Bangladesh. But Roger took his licks and the West Indies won the Test Series 2-0. And he hasn't gone about gloating about it, because quietly he knows, having played the game at the highest level, having been with the very best at the highest level, having suffered the pitfalls and the challenges off the field as well associated with West Indies cricket, he knows at the end of the day that quality will out, quality will prevail. So let loudmouth fools like myself ramble on forever. At the end of the day, it's the bigger picture that you look at. And when you look at it at the moment, West Indies are far from the finished article, but they are working towards it. Will they get there? We'll have to wait and see, but at least they're working towards it, but it's a long journey.
Yeah, a lot has been said, Faz, about the pitch conditions there in Antigua and how difficult it has been for the bowlers. The suggestion has even been made that the pitch conditions at the moment aren't favouring the West Indies, which is, globally not the way things are. Pitch home teams usually ensure that pitch conditions favor the home side.
I'm disappointed in the pitch in the sense that not about favoring the West Indies or not favoring the West Indies, because remember, it backfired on the West Indies against the same Sri Lankans in that day-night test match in Barbados in 2018, when Suranga Lakmal and his teammates bowled beautifully on a seaming track and won the test match to square the series. But we've seen the West Indies be competitive on these types of tracks against England in 2019. When I say these types of tracks, greener pitches than what we're seeing right now, where the West Indies were able to let their fast bowlers have a real say, and their batsmen were tested, their quality was tested. And I think that's what you want to see, which is why it's called Test cricket. You don't want these flat pitches that yes, you see batsmen with the appetite for runs, Craig Brathwaite and so on. But at the end of the day, I think what makes the game a real cutting-edge contest is that balance between bat and ball. I know it's a difficult balance to maintain, but you want to see batsmen having to work hard for their runs. Work hard not by just blocking all day and accumulating, but taking on quality bowling, be it fast bowlers or spin. And I think that brings for a much more appetizing and memorable contest.
Looking at the numbers, Fazeer, there wasn't any particular bowler used by Craig Brathwaite who really had donkey work to do. The distribution of overs was reasonably fair. And that's what I want to ask you about. The moment when he asked someone to rest, the moment when he brought someone back in, the rotation of the bowlers on the day's play that we enjoyed today.
I think that probably reinforces Phil Simmons' perspective, as I've been seeing reported about going with 5 bowlers. The luxury that the West Indies enjoy is that one of those 5 bowlers is a genuine all-rounder in Jason Holder, and he's a top-order batsman in his own right. So yes, when you've got so many resources, you can alternate them, you can rotate them, you can manage them carefully. You don't want Shannon Gabriel to break down, even though he's just had a fantastic spell in the morning session, especially when it could be a stop-start sort of afternoon. So you utilize all your resources. If there's one thing I'll say is that when the West Indies had a chance to wrap it up late in the day, even when they came back on the field, they probably indulged a little too much in the short pitch bowling, and you can understand that with the youthful excitement of hitting the low order batsman and so on. But at the end of the day, you want to get him out. And if there's one side of the effort that I feel is worthy of some sort of criticism, is that they really indulge a little too much in the short pitch stuff when they really could have gone for the jugular by bowling full length and clattering those stumps.
Yeah, and lastly, I feel like a teacher giving commendations to a student getting 40% and 35%. Well, when the student used to get single digits and compared to now, I mean, it's worthy of commendation. I want to ask you about the Sri Lankans. Based on what they showed in the T20 series, in the ODI series, how they fought in the first test and how they've gone on in the second test so far, would you join me in saying that they have perhaps gotten better as this tour has gotten old?
They have gotten better to a certain extent, but I think their batting is still suspect. Let's remember that Sri Lanka have sort of an unsettled feel about them right now. They've only just appointed a technical director. They had an issue with their bowling coach and he chose not to come. A couple of key bowlers are missing for different reasons. Angelo Matthews had to leave the tour during the limited over leg. He's probably their most experienced player. So there's an unsettled feel to the Sri Lankan team. But look at Pathum Nissanka, 49 not out after 100 in his debut test match. Sri Lanka will always have quality. That's 25 million people who are absolute fanatics about the game. Where you see them faltering is that consistency. And that's why the West Indies would have been disappointed they couldn't finish them off today, because there's always a second innings. And as we saw in the first test match, Sri Lanka could very likely come even stronger in the latter stages of this match, even as it's tantalizingly poised.
Yeah, and last thing to go, I called it a draw even before the rain yesterday, and I'm even more certain of that outcome from here. What say you? Who's winning from here?
I won't go draws yet because I think all the options remain open on day 4. If you have a full day's play, it really depends on how things go. If the West Indies wrap it up quickly, get some runs on the board, or if they capitulate, that could open the door back to Sri Lanka again. So I think all the options are open. I'm not as brave and bold as you. I'll watch carefully, and while Lance goes on social media and takes the immediate reactions, I'll step back. and watch what goes on.
Thank you very much, my friend. All the best to you.
And just quickly, gentlemen, that point you made, I'm sorry to intervene, that point you made, I think once you are satisfied you're doing your job as a journalist, and I know both of you know that I'm speaking to the converted, to hell with everybody else.
Well said, sir. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Punchy from Fazeer Mohammed, as usual. Might as well we just take the break now. Yeah, let's go to the break. Thank you for that, Fazeer.